It was minus 34 this Sunday morning here in Edmonton. That has nothing to do with this video. I just thought, wow, that's pretty cold. Welcome to Wednesday's Coffee and Conversation. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time for another coffee and conversation. So thank you for joining with us and spending a few moments of your day with us as we take some time to reflect on Sunday's teaching and to discuss some questions in order to put it into practice in our everyday lives. You can use these questions on your own as personal reflection, but they're best used in community. So gather your family around or call up a friend, spend some time discussing the questions, connecting with one another, and praying, encouraging each other. On Sunday, we finished up a series called Influence, all about how we can live lives in a way that influences others towards the gospel, that influences others for good, that leaves a legacy and leaves an impact and imprint on other people's lives. And this past Sunday, the message was all about finding practical ways to be an influencer. The text was 1 Corinthians 12, in which Paul teaches us all about spiritual gifts and their role within the body of Christ. That's his metaphor, his image for Christ followers, for the church. It's a body. It's made up of many different members, different parts. And yet we function well when we all find our place within that body, within that community, figuring out what God has gifted us with, what our role is, and then leaning into it and doing our part as part of the one body of Christ. He spoke about three things: identify your gifts, find your role, and do your part. A really encouraging message. Again, with all of our messages and this whole Influence series, you can find all of the past messages in both video and audio forms on our website, wordandfullgospel.com/sermons. But here are three questions for this week. To think about the Sunday's message and to put it into practice in our everyday lives, here are three questions for us to discuss. Question number 1. How has God gifted you? The message first was about identifying your gifts. What spiritual gifts has God given you? How has He designed and created you? Maybe take some time and look through 1 Corinthians 12 at some of the different examples that Paul talks about. What is it that you sense that God has gifted you in? Take some time to share about that. Maybe even share some experiences where you've seen that in action. Or where you can affirm that in each other, where you've seen the other person display and use that gift. So that's the first question. Just spend some time thinking, how has God gifted you? What spiritual gifts has He given you? Question number 2. How can you honor those in the church who don't naturally receive glory? The different parts of the body all function in different ways, but there's parts and members that are maybe a little bit more prominent. There's those that we see more often in the way that they serve. But we want to take some time right now to just think about all those other roles that people fulfill. Those who maybe you see or haven't noticed or haven't thought about before, but those who are making a regular difference and impact in the life of the church and the community. How can you honor those? How can you show appreciation and honor for what they have brought and how they have served so faithfully and so humbly? So that's question number 2. The final question for us today is this: how can you do your part? So if you've discovered what your gifts are and you figure out, this is my kind of role, this is where I should be playing and using those gifts within our church community, within our community at large, within our neighborhoods and workplaces, think about this practically. How can you do your part? What would that look like this week, this month? Church doesn't look like it did before the pandemic. Right now, life doesn't look the same as it did before the pandemic. So how can you do your part? How can you play out your role within the world that we live in today? That's a big question. Take some time to discuss it. Brainstorm, even think about different ideas that you can be contributing to the body of Christ during this time. As always, connect with us throughout the week on social media, online. We'll see you on Sunday morning online, and glad to connect with you there. God bless, church.